The year is 2150, and the dream of the stars has officially died. For over a century, humanity obsessed over the red dust of Mars and the cold craters of the Moon, pouring trillions into rockets that led to nowhere. But while we were looking up at the silent heavens, the true frontier was waiting right beneath our feet, 3 miles under the crushing weight of the Atlantic. We didn't flee to the stars to save our species. We fled into the dark. We didn't seek the sun, we embraced the eternal night. Welcome to the era of the Abyssal Ascent. This is the story of Aegir One, the first deep-sea megacity, a sprawling metropolis of reinforced graphene domes and bioluminescent towers that glow like alien jewels in the pitch-black trenches of the ocean floor. To live here is to live at the very edge of physics. At these depths, the pressure is over 8,000 pounds per square inch. That is the equivalent of having an elephant stand on every square inch of your body. One hairline fracture in the glass, one failed seal in the airlocks, and the entire city would be flattened into a sheet of metal in less than a millisecond. Yet millions now call this pressure cooker home. As the surface of Earth became a scorched, overcrowded wasteland of heat waves and storms, the rich and the powerful realized that the only stable environment left on the planet was the deep. In the abyss, the temperature never changes. There are no hurricanes, no droughts, and no wars for land. But this safety comes with a terrifying social cost. Life in Aegir One is governed by a strict hierarchy known as the vertical class system. At the top, in the Sunseeker tiers just 500 meters down, the surface-born live in artificial sunlight, clinging to the memory of the sky. But deep in the Hadal zones, miles below where even the most advanced submarines dare to go, live the trench lords. They are the new elite, harvesting geothermal energy from volcanic vents and mining rare earth minerals that have been untouched for billions of years. They are protected by walls that must never fail, living in a world of silent, majestic terror. But as the city expands deeper into the unknown, the engineers have noticed something disturbing. The ocean isn't just a place to live, it's a living entity that is constantly trying to reclaim its territory. Every groan of the graphene foundations, every shudder of the cooling pipes is a reminder. We are guests in a world that never wanted us, and the ocean is starting to wake up. In the abyss, your wealth isn't measured in gold or digital currency. It is measured in atmospheres. As you descend deeper into Aegir One, the cost of living doesn't just rise, it explodes. Every meter of depth requires thicker graphene, more complex life support systems, and higher energy consumption. To live in the trench zones is to belong to a class of humans who have effectively seceded from the rest of the world. These are the pressure kings, the corporate titans who realize that the ocean floor is the greatest untapped treasure chest in the history of our species. While the surface world collapsed under the weight of resource scarcity, the deep-sea miners found the mother lode. They discovered polymetallic nodules, potato-sized rocks scattered across the abyssal plains that are packed with high-grade manganese, nickel, and cobalt. But the real prize was the black smokers. These are hydrothermal vents that spew superheated, mineral-rich water from the Earth's core. By tapping into these vents, Aegir One doesn't just have energy, it has infinite power. The city is a literal gold mine, fueling a global economy that the surface dwellers can only dream of. But this wealth comes with a price that can't be paid in money. The workers who maintain the external mining rigs, known as pressure divers, spend months in saturation habitats. Their bodies are so pressurized that if they were to return to the surface without weeks of decompression, their blood would literally boil inside their veins. They are a new kind of human, physically disconnected from the world above. Inside the city, the architecture reflects this obsession with power. The deeper you go, the more the city looks like a fortress. The walls are no longer just glass. They are multi-layered composites designed to withstand the weight of a mountain. Yet even with all this wealth, a new fear is growing. The mining operations are vibrating through the tectonic plates. We are waking up things that have been silent for millions of years. The pressure economy is a house of cards built on a foundation of shifting rock and ancient secrets. And in the deep, a single crack is all it takes to lose everything. As Aegir One pushed deeper into the Hadal zones, we discovered that we were not alone in the dark. We didn't find little green men from another planet. We found something far more alien. In the depths where the sun has never reached, life has evolved its own light. The bioluminescent war didn't start with a battle, but with a realization. The deep-sea ecosystems we were destroying for minerals were actually a vast, interconnected neural network of glowing organisms. To the trench lords, the bioluminescent forests of the deep were just obstacles. Beautiful, but in the way of profit. But to the eco-sentinels, a rebel faction living in the city's outskirts, these glowing reefs were the key to our survival. They realized that the sea creatures were communicating through complex pulses of light, a language of the deep that we were drowning out with our industrial noise. When the mining drills began to shatter the ancient coral structures, the ocean fought back. It wasn't with teeth or claws, but with biology. Massive blooms of predatory jellyfish and unknown cephalopods began to swarm the city's intake valves. They didn't just attack, they adapted. They learned how to short-circuit the external sensors using their own electrical pulses. For the first time, the citizens of Aegir One felt vulnerable. The very light that made the city look like a jewel was now being used against it. The bioluminescence outside the glass became a warning, a flickering code that the city's AI couldn't crack. This led to a state of constant light warfare. The city deployed massive UV floods to blind the creatures, but the ocean just sent something bigger. Deep in the trenches, sightings of leviathans, creatures the size of skyscrapers, began to leak into the city's news feeds. The trench lords claim it's just mass hysteria caused by the pressure, but the workers on the external docks know the truth. They've seen the shadows moving in the dark. They've seen the eyes the size of windows. We didn't just build a city in the ocean, we built a cage in a predator's den, and the cage is starting to rattle. Every engineer in Aegir One lives with a single unspoken terror, the sound of a whistle. Not a human whistle, but the high-pitched screaming sound of air escaping through a microscopic hole. At these depths, a leak doesn't just drip, it cuts through solid titanium like a laser. In the year 2158, the unspoken terror became a reality. It started as a series of strange seismic readings in the Mariana Trench, a vibration that felt less like an earthquake and more like a heartbeat. The trench lords ignored the warnings, pushing their geothermal drills deeper than ever before, hunting for the abyssal spark, a theoretical energy source at the planet's mantle. They didn't find the spark, they found a void. When the main drill bit snapped, it triggered a pressure spike that sent a shockwave through the entire city's foundation. In the residential tier of Sector 7, the first vocalizations of the ocean began. The graphene walls didn't shatter. They groaned under a weight they were never designed to hold. Then, the first hairline fracture appeared in the Great Observation Dome. To the people inside, it looked like a spiderweb made of light. But to the AI safety systems, it was the beginning of the end. The Great Breach wasn't a single explosion. It was a slow, agonizing realization that the ocean was finally coming inside. Panic in the abyss is different than on the surface. There is nowhere to run. The elevators to the upper tiers were immediately jammed with thousands of terrified citizens, while the automated bulkheads began to seal off entire sectors, trapping anyone left behind to preserve the rest of the city. The bioluminescent creatures we had fought for years didn't flee the chaos. They swarmed toward the light of the breach. Thousands of glowing alien shapes pressed against the cracking glass, watching as the human world began to drown. The hero of the hour was an anonymous maintenance crew, the pressure walkers. While the elite were fleeing toward the surface, these workers stepped into their exosuits and walked out onto the external hull. They weren't trying to stop the water, they were trying to buy time. Using experimental liquid graphene patches, they fought the ocean in the dark, their floodlights cutting through a sea of debris and predatory shadows. They watched as the city they built began to buckle under the sheer, indifferent power of the Pacific. It was the moment humanity realized that no matter how much gold we mine or how much energy we harvest, we are nothing more than dust in the eyes of the deep. The breach was a message: the abyss does not negotiate. The Great Breach of 2158 didn't destroy Aegir One, but it destroyed the myth of human invincibility. When the waters were finally contained and the pressure stabilized, the city that remained was transformed. The trench lords, once the masters of the deep, fled to the surface, terrified of the world they had tried to conquer. But many stayed behind. These were the people who had looked into the eyes of the leviathans during the breach and felt something other than fear. They felt a connection. The silent rebirth began when the survivors stopped fighting the ocean and started listening to it. They realized that the bioluminescent pulses weren't an attack. They were an invitation to coexist. The city was rebuilt, but not as a fortress. The new architecture used biographene, a living material grown from the very coral reefs we once destroyed. These new domes were flexible. They moved with the currents and breathed with the tides. The vertical class system was abolished, replaced by a society of sea synths, humans who used neural implants to communicate with the marine life around them. We no longer mine the black smokers for profit. We harvest them for the health of the planet. Aegir One is no longer a cage in a predator's den. It has become part of the ecosystem itself. From the surface, Earth still looks like a scarred and weary world. But deep beneath the waves, a new civilization is thriving in the dark. We have learned that the true Abyssal Ascent wasn't about going deeper into the Earth, but going deeper into ourselves. We found that in the most hostile, crushing environment in the universe, life doesn't just survive. It finds a way to shine. As the lights of the new Aegir shine out across the tectonic trenches, they serve as a beacon for the rest of humanity. Whether we go to the stars or stay in the depths, the lesson remains the same. We are not the masters of nature. We are its heartbeat. Subscribe to Shorai Vision as we continue to explore the mysteries of our future. The dark is no longer something to fear. It is the place where we finally found our light. The ocean is wide, the trenches are deep, and our journey has only just begun.